All right.
All right. That's not right.
Hey, where are we?
That's not right at all.
Can't ask questions until we appear on screen, so...
Wait for it. What happened?
We were on screen before.
I know.
Did the camera turn off? Did you unplug it?
Let's just try that. Yeah, so how about that weather? Oh, there we are. Perfect, and we're live. Hello, and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
And together we are the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
And we also founded Codename, too. And we run all the IT.
Company secrets. We're going to be your host for this episode and for every episode.
And look at how high our audio is today. We will turn our audio down. Dave will do that shortly. But we did want to let you know that when we're not here, the show doesn't happen.
You sound like you're inside three canvas bags.
Wow.
Oh, and I'm loud. We're winning on this, are we not?
Oh, my audio is actually fine, apparently. It's your audio that's horrible.
Well, don't make me do this. How about that? Is that better? Are we winning now? That looks probably better.
Looks like you could come down a little bit more.
Yeah?
Yeah, just looking at the numbers there.
All right. How's that? Let's go with that. Okay.
Anyway, we'll try and fix this throughout the course of the episode.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, today is our 110th episode.
And a Pacific low-pressure system combined with cold outflow winds will produce snow over Greater Victoria today and this evening.
What?
Snowfall amounts of 10 centimeters are expected by midnight. There's also a risk of freezing rain this evening. The snow will transition into rain overnight.
Are you just reading the weather forecast?
Rapidly accumulating snow could make travel difficult over some locations.
This is worse than you ChatGPT generated scripts.
Surfaces such as highways, roads, walkways, and parking lots may become difficult to navigate due to accumulating snow.
Yeah, I know that. I parked here this morning. Are you planning to do the 7-day forecast too?
Actually, I'm just trying to explain why we are basically alone here at the office today.
I thought it was because when we aren't here, the show wouldn't happen.
No, it's the snow. The snow wouldn't happen.
Okay.
Ah.
Anyway, we are here to answer your development and design questions about Idle Champions and also blow out your ears, apparently.
Yes. But if you don't ask any questions, however, you may have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of Ice Age. What, like the original Ice Age?
Yeah, the one with the furry elephant and the anxious squirrel and the chubby tiger, right?
Yeah. Something like that. Don't you watch the movies before you offer to do a one-man show?
Hey, I've seen the movie. I mean, maybe it's been a decade or two, but yeah, I've definitely seen it.
A decade or two? Let me see. Let's see what the release date is on this. See, 2002. Oh, you're making me feel old.
Yeah, mission accomplished.
Anyway, as always, we have pulled forward some questions from the previous show that we didn't get to, so we will answer some of those while we're waiting for new questions to come in. But before we get to those, I do have some updates. Oh, it says I have updates. I have like one update on items that were flagged to get looked at by the dev team. So without any further stalling for time or stalling to try and fix our audio or whatever it is that we've not gotten quite right, let's take a look at those. This document. Aha. So I know we have one fix here, and Peter was working on it before, just before the show actually, and that was that request that the complete adventure button flash was not tied to speed anymore, that it was tied to real-time clock, so it doesn't flash extremely quickly. And Peter was also telling me that there was an issue which was a little bit hand-wavy about Nova's crew ability resetting to 0 sometimes, and that there was a fix going in for that, and that both of those were going to be in the build that's going out later today. Otherwise, we still have the regular in-progress list, which includes recalling missing familiars on potions, although I still have that tagged as that Peter couldn't replicate that. Increasing the bounty contract use limit to 1,000. Adding the tooltip to potions so that you can see what is active without clicking. A sort, a filter for the quest tracker. The option to view, open, and buy chests for a champion directly from the character sheet. Looking into seeing if we can do a mobile minimized view. Adding attack types and roles to the bench slot information champion hover pop-up so you can see what those are without switching to them, and then adding the option to always show all of the bench slots even if at that point you don't have enough gold.
Dave, can you whisper just for the rest of the stream? Just whisper seductively. Make it an ASMR. ASM, is that right?
ASMR? Do I not have, are they still saying that I'm too loud?
They're still saying you're awful and that only I should speak.
Wow.
Which is, normally it's the other way around, so I'm actually quite enjoying this.
All right, well, there.
It's just going to leave and then come back.
I'm not sure why that was like that. How about there? Is that better?
Just looking at the thing,
Let's
it
see
looks
what
like
the chat
you're still peaking more than I am.
Well, this is very upsetting. How about there?
That's a little bit better.
Well, we did end up getting a new mixing board, and everything looked like it was good when I tested it earlier in the week, and now it is just not working the way we expected.
Yeah, so we were testing it before the stream, and that's a bit better.
Much better, okay.
We were testing it before the stream, and it was super duper quiet.
Yeah.
And we ended up just restarting the computer, and that fixed it.
Yeah, I did change something on the gains. Anyway, I don't know why this has been giving us such trouble.
Welcome to Audio Insights.
Yeah.
I'm David, and this is Justin. We're your hosts. Anyway.
Okay.
I think we have some leftover questions from the... I'm too quiet now?
I didn't lower you at all. All right, moving on.
I think SDS Customs
someone
is just
is trolling
messing with us.
Yeah. Yeah, they're trolling you. Okay. First question left over from last week's episode is from Barefoot Monkey asking, could we have a special slot inside the load a formation save dialog to load the formation for the most recent reset in the current campaign?
I think that's a really cool idea. I have actually wanted to for a while just have it by default, have an option to kind of reload in your formation from your previous adventure if you're just resetting over and over. Or if you're resetting manually, rather, because obviously it does it if you're resetting with a mode run animation, or it loads the save formation at least. So, I mean, yeah, I think that's probably fine. It'd be something that would be useful. I'm going to highlight it.
Okay.
We'll pass it on to Peter. It can go on to the not super trivial list.
Okay. Next question. This is from DS Customs. How does the dev team currently decide who gets pre-stack abilities with scaling from gear and items? So far, every absolute adversary has pre-stack scaling with 1 to even 4 gear pieces, while Karlach has none.
Yes, that's a great question. So it's a little bit kind of just based on gut feeling in some cases. We want to try and have all champions have pretty good scaling sort of over time with more gear. Obviously, ones that have pre-stack tend to scale a little bit faster with gear than ones that don't. Some of the things that we look for when deciding whether something should be pre-stack or post-stack is we look at the maximum number of stacks. Generally, the more stacks something can have, the less likely we are to do pre-stack on it, because you just get that kind of exponential growth of any buffs that you put on it. So that's probably one of the bigger things that we use to kind of determine what gets pre-stack and what doesn't. Otherwise, it's just sort of how much more power we want that champion to have. Pre-stack abilities tend to be a little bit more powerful than post-stack abilities. And this is also something that's really changed over time. The newer champions tend to have more pre-stack abilities than older champions do, because it was the power that you get from pre-stack abilities was something we were very wary of back in the day, and now we're kind of a little bit more comfortable with it. So that's kind of how it happens. Someone's asking who's gut. It would be mainly myself, but also the other designer here who I work with, Pete. We are the two that determine whether something should be pre-stack or post-stack.
Alrighty. Next question. This is from Maelstrom7737. Is there any discussion about a way to upgrading bounty contracts to make handling the smaller versions faster? It's like small to medium to large.
Yeah, I think this is something that would probably be addressed when we do the apothecary slash
Notary.
Notary.
It's a notary. Changing the contracts from
apothecary slash notary screen, where we would provide an option to kind of trade up. With bounty contract, I mean, it's tough to say with bounty contracts if we do just a straight up sort of one-to-one conversion. Obviously not one small bounty contract for one medium bounty contract for one large, but like, whether we try to keep the cost or the amount of time consistent. I imagine we probably would, or else people just wouldn't use it. But certainly for the potions in the apothecary, there'll be some sort of cost to upgrade them. But yeah, it does seem like that is something that we'd probably do in the when we do that update. Which, if you want to know more about it, you can ask us, what the heck are you talking about? And we'll tell you what we're talking about. Though, yeah, most likely we will forget what we were talking about. If you just ask what we were talking about, never mind.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what I'm talking about
that's
either.
What I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. This is from Fear My Pinky 79. Wow, quite a few of these Fear My Pinkies. Question, how about adding a bestiary screen in the game?
What a great idea. That is something that we are actively working on. We've been teasing the idea of a collections dialogue update for quite a while, and it is something that is nearing completion, I would say.
I would argue the bestiary portion is done.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at it a couple of times, and it's looking pretty good. You see all the there's a lot of friggin' monsters in this game.
Yes. Yes,
and,
there are.
Yeah, you can see them all.
And some of them don't have like
Legs?
parts of their body because they're like boss monsters that come in off the screen.
Yeah,
and
there's a little bit of stuff there. We'll be able to see a little bit behind the scenes when that goes in, because certainly
behind the screen.
Behind the screens. Because certainly super large enemies, we don't draw them all. We didn't draw the entire Tarrasque in order to have a Tarrasque foot step on your champion's head. So
spoilers.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Moving on to new questions from this week. First question of the day is from Dice42. Why was Gazric included in this week's quests? He's not part of the season, and if they joined too late or couldn't make 4 days for the giveaway, isn't even discounted in time gates. It was already a little disappointing to have him left out of the reworks when 2 of this season's champions didn't get touched, and he needs some love. This is just feeling like insult to injury.
Yeah, so I think we touched last week on why Gazric wasn't included in the 5 season champions for this season. But we did still want to, he's part of that affiliation, so we still wanted to call him out. And so we've done, I think there's 2 season quests in total. There's one last week and one in week 6, I think, or one this week, I guess, and one in week 6 that will include Gazric, or be easier with Gazric in the terms of the week 6 one. And really, I think we've kind of done this before. We did set a little bit of a precedent with the Companions of the Hall season, where we had quests in there that could use more companions. It was a little bit different because some of them were evergreens, obviously, but we also had Dritzt in there, who is not an evergreen, and you can get them pretty early on in the game, so I guess you could say they're a little bit easier to get than Gazric. But we did want to make a nod to Gazric existing in the affiliation, even if we weren't going to do any rebalances on him at this time. So I think that, yes, Dritz is an evergreen. He's not core, I meant. Sorry. So yeah, that's why we included him a couple of times. He's not, necessary to complete the season. If you don't do those 2 quests, you're still going to get, maybe one less season level than you would get otherwise. And we've also got still another, 5 or 6 weeks left in the season for folks to save up time gate pieces and grab them if they want to, so that they can do that quest later on. So I don't think it's a big deal to have him in there. for me personally, but I've seen this feedback, and it's something we'll take into consideration in future content.
No, you can't run Windows Update.
Oh, you sure? Now would be a great time to run Windows Update.
Thank you. I don't know about that. Okay. Next question. This next one is from Meow Arf Moo, asking, in the Forging Jimmy Jammies section, can we get the checkbox for show legendary levels to always stay checked? Additionally, Meow Arf, there are plans to better move and navigate.
Arf their plans.
Their plans to better move and navigate when adding / managing legendary items, instead of clicking into an item to level, then back out, then back to the next one, etc.
Yeah, so I think having the checkbox for show legendary levels stay checked is a good idea, and having that persist between loads, so storing that locally somewhere is a good idea. I appreciate the puns, and I think looking at the legendary system is probably on the list somewhere for something that we need to do. It's not an immediate priority for us, unfortunately, but it's definitely, I think, something that we'll want to do down the road, and looking at some quality of life stuff for that would definitely be something we would do when we look at that.
Okay. Next question. This is from Star Chaser 43. It's not how, it's just, are you handling the cold and snow in Vancouver?
So the cheeky answer is no, we're not handling the cold and snow in Vancouver, because that's another city quite a ways away. But there is cold and snow here in Victoria, and handling it, I guess so. It's cold. We're not used to this here. Like, it doesn't snow very much in Victoria.
Yeah.
We're like one of the few places in Canada where getting snow is a novelty in the winter.
We get a couple of days every year for snow.
Yeah.
The cold, we've had a really weird cold snap where we got down to record-setting low of negative 10 here, which is really cold for
negative
here.
20 with the wind chill.
It doesn't count for the.
It was cold last week.
But
yeah.
I had pipes freeze that have, in 20 years of living in that house, never froze, which did result in a bit of a mess. So that was fun. But
so you're handling it.
I handled it. It wasn't as much fun as I was hoping for, but
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I like the snow on weekends, so I can go play in it with my kids. I don't like the snow on weekdays when I have to drive into the office.
Yes, well, almost everyone here uses it as what's the word I'm looking for?
Reason?
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Not to come in today in person.
Yeah, what do we got in the office? 4, 5 people?
We're at 4 right now. We started at 5, and Lisa went home because of the snow outside.
And Ivy was here? Nathaniel?
Oh, Ivy's here.
So
So we're at 5.
6?
We're at 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
All right.
Next question here is from Rough Rider 1995. And they ask, is the ability to jump to a specific completed zone still on the list of things in progress?
It is. It's not on the list of things that we've been repeating at the top of the episode, obviously, but it is on the list of nice-to-haves. I can highlight this again and bump it up just as a reminder, but it is still on that list, yep. Cool. Next question. This is from Naiku T, I think.
Something like that.
Are you trapped inside the microphone?
Yeah, obviously we had some issues at the start of the show.
We'll figure it out, I swear.
Yeah. We'll get it right next week.
Just change more things. Okay, next question. This one is from Florine. Where are the devs?
We're right here. We've always been
this
here.
is the early,
this is
that's
also
from earlier
yeah.
stuff. Turns out when you restart the computer, sometimes your camera capture device turns off and doesn't work until you replug it.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. This is from Foolish Genius 89. What led you to the decision to finally sunset the Switch version? And is there anything we can look forward to now that you don't have to run everything by Nintendo?
Yeah, so I mean, I think as we mentioned in the blog post, there was a bunch of factors that went into the decision to sunset the Switch version. There were definitely some technical aspects to it that made it more of a pain to work with. Having to run the builds through Nintendo's lock check was one of the more arduous kind of systems for getting builds up out of all the platforms we're on.
I mean, that by itself certainly wasn't kind of the primary reason, of course. Like one of the actually sort of nice side effects of Nintendo having a longer well, they call it lot check, but it's sort of like a verification period where they check things and make sure everything works. Is that meant that we had to have those features done in advance, which
it has its pros and cons, right? Because the pros are we have to run like at least a month, 6 weeks in advance in terms of feature sets. The con is if we find a bug, and this is one of the reasons, right? If we find a bug in that 4 to 6 week window after we've submitted it through Nintendo, we can fix it on every other platform, but we can't fix it on Nintendo, so it leads to issues like having features that are delayed or turned off on Nintendo. I know we had an event one year that was entirely canceled because we found a bug in the champion or something. Or actually, no, that one was because of other lot check issues. But we've certainly had events that have been delayed because of bug fixes that we've had to rush out or stuff like that. So it leads to
so there are challenges around that.
Yeah,
but primarily, just sort of over time, the interest of players on the Switch platform in Idle Champions had reduced, and it had gotten to the point where it was starting to be a low number of players, and a lot of challenges, like Justin mentioned, for a lower number of players started to look like it wasn't something that our time would have been better spent on the other platforms.
It wasn't a decision that we came to easily, and I think it'll be good for the game in the long run. But it sucks because we like having the game on as many platforms as we can, and but it has to make sense from a business and development perspective to do it.
Yeah, and a similar sort of reasoning to why about 2-3 years ago now we had a version of that was a WebGL version that ran in the browser that actually had a full additional code base that we for similar reasons ended up sunsetting just because of the additional sort of complications around that. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. This is from the 22 Dragons. 2024 request for an old druid Jaheira skin, maybe paired with a feat that adds aberrations to her favorite enemies and/or adds Ceramorphous. Why Ceramorphous. Wow. Stack to make her synergize with absolute adversaries, and please add to her affiliation. She is adversary of the absolute. I would absolutely buy it.
I mean, I imagine at some point we're going to do some stuff for Jaheira to kind of bring her into the absolute adversaries fold. I know that we've been trying to avoid her seat in terms of putting other absolute adversaries there. I don't know that we will succeed at that in the end because there are just so many champions we'd want to try and fit in there. And as I've talked about on the stream many times, it is challenging to find seats for everyone that make sense. So I think there's absolutely at some point we'll end up doing some BG3 stuff for old Jaheira.
Okay.
Time for more seats, says Strider.
Next question. This is from Trenamo, asking, and they say, you asked that I ask again this week. All right.
This week?
We are currently getting Year 5, 6, and 7 event champions. Can we get a time gate discount on years 1, 2, 3, and 4?
So I don't think I said this week. I think I said ask again on February 8th.
That's true.
But I've been told not to hype up February 8th.
Right.
So I would say, ask again in a couple of weeks. And I think we'll have some good answers for you on sort of how to get those year 1, 2, 3, and 4 champions in an easier way.
True that. wait, I wouldn't say that. Never mind.
You just did.
Nope, didn't happen.
All right, the next question here is from OG17, and it's a big one. So they ask, or they say, for the last few months, many art assets have been dithered, making stuff like the chess screen, splash screens, and character bench go from looking very crisp to looking rather bad, which is a shame when your company has such good artists. Reddit Q&A says it's deliberate for performance. Could you please review what is gained by this compared to how unprofessional it looks? These assets are presented to the players constantly, and they've got some comparisons here, which appears to be a link that we will look at but not share.
Yeah, it's true. I don't have an easy way to put that up on the stream computer there without loading up another window.
But can you can you speak to kind of why those assets look different than they used to?
Yeah. So this is one of those things where for a lot of the assets, you can barely see a difference, and for some it really does stand out. And so one of the things that we had done actually in the aforementioned WebGL build back before we had canceled it was that we were running the assets which all got exported as a combination of a PNG with the texture data on it and a JSON file with the locations of the graphics, which was actually more convenient for the WebGL version because it had a different format than the Unity version, which all aside is way too much information. But we're running them through a PNG quantizing function, which greatly reduced the file size, which made a big difference in terms of how long it took, how much data needed to be downloaded, and how long it downloaded, or how long it took to download, which meant that the game loaded quite a bit faster and used significantly less bandwidth when you're downloading the assets. In fact, I think the most recent usage check when we were looking at that, when we did implement it for the Unity version, which we did about 4 months ago now. Actually, maybe a little longer than that. It's been quite a while that that's been in place. Moved the overall asset size down from about just over 2 gigs to about 800 megs, which is actually a significant reduction in the size of the assets. Now, one of the things that we did run into was that there are certain assets in particular that have a higher color count, like a higher number of colors on the palette, did end up looking a little bit from either a little bit dithered to potentially quite bad. And so one of the things that we did with that was we did add an option internally for our exporter. So like when the artists are doing the exports, to turn off or down the amount that the image is quantized so that the asset still looks good. And it was not supposed to be being applied to things like the key art, like the splash screen images. We're not supposed to be having that applied to them. And I think there was sort of a miscommunication on that between the artists and the end result in the game, because they're often not actually going and looking at it in game. They're only looking at it on their export system, which doesn't show what the quantization looks like directly. So when it was brought up about 2 weeks ago, we did talk to the artists who were doing the export to say that these, for certain graphics, like the key art, we shouldn't be running the quantization on it, and that's something that they can set. But otherwise, for most of the graphics, everything from the characters to the icons, most of them you actually are you struggle to see a difference. I know the images here, I don't know, Justin, if you've got that link there.
I can see it on your screen.
I don't see a huge difference between these chests. I think, if you get real up close, you can start to see a little bit of it. I'm not sure if you're seeing.
No, I'm pretty far away from the screen over here.
Yeah, but I do know that for the key art stuff, like this sort of thing here, it did end up having a noticeable impact.
Yeah,
and that's something that we don't want to be doing the quantization for. But as I said before, it cut the size of the assets down by half, which means that the time it takes to load those graphics when you're loading them in is less than half, which from a performance standpoint is definitely beneficial. It's also from a bandwidth standpoint, it's beneficial. So I think there's just some key elements, key art, for example, that needs to be double checked to make sure that when it was exported, it didn't have that setting either too high or simply just off. Because obviously some of that art is really quite nice looking, and we don't want to make it unnecessarily look lower quality in game. Okay.
Cool. I think I saw when I was up here in the thing that there's a giveaway ready to run. Now, have you heard of this giveaway?
Nope, never.
So the way this giveaway works, if you haven't heard of it like Dave here, is that you like my inflection there? The way the giveaway works is very, very shortly there will be a keyword in chat, and all you have to do is copy and paste that keyword back in, and you'll be entered for a chance to win 42 gold chests of your choice. It can be any type of gold chest in the game. I suppose you could ask for silver chests if you wanted to, so it doesn't have to be gold chests. The only chest it can't be is Gloria Bahamut chests, but it can be any other type of chest that exists in the game. Modron component chests are a good option. You could get some Season 7 chests if you wanted some extra gear for those champions. What other type of chests could we get?
I think we can get an envy chest.
Envy chest?
That sounds like a good type of chest.
Feelings?
Or
feelings?
an opal chest.
Opal?
Yeah.
Gems?
How about a gala chest?
Gala. That's a type of apple. Types of apples.
Crispin check. Gold ginger. Northern Spy. Brayburn.
I got the category.
Ambrosia. Pink Lady.
Yes. Awesome.
We won today. Or you won today.
I won.
Also, you're looking at
three.
you've got the, you can
well,
see
I
it
did
on my
glance
screen,
over
so,
and see a bunch of apples there. I may have partially cheated, but Honeycrisp, yes, that's the best type of apple. Correct.
Granny Smith chest.
Granny Smith, they're good for
a Mac Pro chest.
pies. What? No.
What type of apple?
iVision? What's the? Uh-oh.
Drop
Oh, your
the mic.
mic fell off. Now you're going to sound even worse. Sheesh, Dave.
Winning on that front.
Alrighty. So good luck to everyone on that giveaway. And thank you for that very long answer to the dithering question, which allowed me to go through and highlight a bunch more questions. Let's see. We're going to move on to the next question. This one's from Vovcast, who asks, or says, requests, I guess.
Statement.
Please add a button to advance 100 zones. Save the planet from broken mouse trash when players need to click 100 plus times to get to zone 600 for a Briv farm every time.
Wait, didn't we tell them last week that we were in the pocket of Big Mouse?
We've got all those Logitech shares that we need to,
Yeah.
That was a joke from last week. We've already done that joke.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of falls into line with the request earlier to have the improved zone selection UI, which is something that I had mentioned in the past. I know it's on the list to get looked at when we have time, which is to add something into the zone selection that would maybe have a drop down that you could perhaps type in the zone, pick, go forward X amount, maybe chunks of 5, 10, 25, 50, 100 or whatever, something like that, so that you could easily navigate between those zones, especially when you've unlocked a very high number of areas or zones. What are we calling them now? This says zones. Are they called areas?
They're called areas.
They're called areas, yeah. So certainly that would help with something like that, just to have sort of a little bit more granular navigation control on that for jumping large chunks at a time. So.
Okay.
Oh, that's yellow.
So
that is a lot of yellow.
The next question here is from Jorathonis.
Are you going to read this, or do you want me to read it?
Well, I'm gonna summarize. So they've got a 5-part question. It's basically in regard to background progress and how players can help out with trying to figure out what's going on. I'm not going to read all of it because I think it would take the remaining 22 minutes of the stream.
Well, that's how many minutes this hour.
But I have highlighted it and I have read through it, and we will look at this. They're asking for a little button that they could click to kind of get a preview of how the party, background party, has progressed, so that they can see if it looks like the progress is wrong, and then submit a ticket, which would make a copy of their account progress prior to switching to that party, so that we could more easily try to reproduce it. It feels a little bit like a bit of a quantum issue with
change the outcome by measuring it?
By measuring it, we may change the outcome. So I'm not sure it would 100% work, but I've highlighted it, and I'm going to make sure we go over this with Peter tomorrow, just so we can see if there's anything in here that we could implement that would be helpful. But thank you for that essay, Jorathonis. These things like this are actually really I think the much better platform for this kind of stuff is in a support ticket, because those are the ones that can get passed directly onto dev, and there's also a lot more room in support tickets for posting those.
Okay. Could you read the answer fully off stream and turn it into a YouTube short? No, I think it might be too long for a YouTube short. Okay. Next question here is from OG17. Why do formation saves only load specializations for the formation that is currently enabled in automation? Would it make sense if saved specs worked when loading a formation normally? Feels weird to change the automation settings before swapping formation.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a good question, and this is, I think, formation saves, like the update for stuff that got formation saves was like implemented when I was off with my my first daughter.
Sure.
And so I came back and I was like, oh, hey, we can save specializations with formations now. And it's like, no, you can only save specializations with formations in automation. And there was some reasoning for that. I can't quite remember it. I don't know if you can remember exactly why we made the call to only save it in automation, whether we were just trying to...
I think you just didn't want them to have it in the
I don't think that's what it was.
mode. I think that's what it was.
No, it's not. I'm throwing you under the bus, sir. Don't try to reverse Uno.
Reverse bus? Yeah.
My personal feeling on this at this point is that it...
No,
it was not.
I think it was. I think that was the reason.
I don't think it was. Because my feeling on this right now is why I feel like we should just have specializations be part of formation saves just in general.
Yeah. I mean, it might make sense to switch it to that. I know, like, sort of early on when we were implementing the formation save portions, one of the things that I had implemented that we then opted not to use was actually a system built into the specialization choice dialog that remembered the specialization that you'd chosen before and actually just had like a little timer bar that if the specialization choice popped up and say you were AFK while it was happening, it just the timer bar went down to the end, and then boom, it picked the one you picked last time, which I know we opted to use the Modron automation specialization for that, and if you didn't have Modron specialization, well, it just didn't pick it for you.
Yeah.
What the reasoning was at the time beyond like that's just how you wanted it to work, I don't remember. So,
yeah, I don't know. I feel like that could be revisited to add some quality of life stuff in there, because it does feel like it's yeah. Speaking of specializations, Pete and I talked last week about we had somebody in Dev Insights sort of inspired us to talk about potions of specialization and sort of ways to maybe make them a little bit better. And one of the ideas we had was that when you use a potion of specialization on a champion, that you basically gain the ability to respec their specializations for the entire adventure until you reset the adventure. So they kind of, it's less of a, does it once and more of a toggles on this ability to do as many respecs as you want to. So you could mess around and switch it back if the new one didn't work. And I don't know, maybe that could be useful, maybe it couldn't. It's tough to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say if it's any more valuable than just like pulling the potion and having it as an option you can just use.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
Next question. This one is from Sirai. Sarah? How would you pronounce that, Justin?
Sirai?
Sirai?
Sirai. I don't know.
Cool.
Try it with different accents until it works.
Until I get in trouble. Can you please change how after season favor works? So that's after dash season dash favor. The after season favor.
Yes.
I get it that you don't want to remove it entirely, but maybe put all of the experience into one camp favor rather than into all.
Yeah, so I mean, converting season favor into one favor is something we'd considered at the start. I think we wanted to try and make it a little bit more unique, so it wasn't really like event favor, time gate favor, but instead just convert it into all the favors, and that's why we went down that route. I could see us revisiting that in the future, but certainly not for season 7 or anything anytime soon.
Oh, they're talking about how many potions of specialization they have in the chat. Looks like, oh, yeah, 55,000, yep.
Maybe we should add that button to just like you load a formation and it just uses all your potions of specialization.
Okay, next question. This is from Numantis. Any chance that gender could be added to the console character sheets? Apparently, it's missing on Xbox and such.
Yeah, that does seem like an oversight. We're gonna highlight that one.
After for some reason?
Did we add gender after? I mean,
Like
we might
as
have
a
added
thing
it
to
to the.
display?
I know that the champion profile pop up in the gamepad UI is quite a bit different
That's
from
true.
from
But
the
it would
one
have
in
been
the
like,
main screen.
I would have thought it would have had feature parity at the time of its creation.
I would have thought so too, but maybe we just missed that one.
Possible there's other things missing too at this point.
Quite possibly at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can tag that to get looked at for sure. Next question. This is from Gwarsbane. At the end of an event where we get special currency needed to do runs, instead of losing all the currency left over, why not convert it into gems? For every 10,000 of the currency, you can convert it into a random gold chest of the new champion, or just a random one of the 3 with priority given to the one with the least number of epics. Up to 999 gems, while a decent amount is not a majority game altering, or is not majority game altering, as that would only happen at the end of every event.
Hi, Gwarsbane.
Do you have something you can say?
Get out of my
about
head! Yeah, no, that's a really interesting and compelling quality of life update that I think would be really cool. And I'd love to talk more about that idea on a date in the future that I am forbidden from saying now.
You were
by Dupuy.
forbidden. It was just
He was just like, please stop hyping it up so much. We might
he
miss
was
the
just
date.
a little worried that we might not hit that date, and
Yeah.
therefore wanted,
So yeah, that's a fantastic idea. I like that idea. Some sort of way of converting that currency, event currency you have left over, to something that is useful, I think would be very cool. And yeah, I think there's lots of cool things we could do with event currency to make it a little bit more quality of lifey.
yes,
Yeah,
and we will, and we have.
I don't think we have yet, but we will,
Yeah.
or we might. What are you talking about?
Okay, next question. This one is from Zoland Orlemu. I believe this has been asked before, but are there plans to add a by slot filter to the TimeGate selection interface?
I think we have talked about this before, and I think when we talked about it before, we said that sounds like a great idea. So
I agree.
let's re-highlight that one and make sure that that's on the list. It probably is already on the list, but we will check tomorrow when we do our check-in.
That's true. I mean,
with
I haven't
Peter.
pulled a bunch of the stuff we added to the list into the doc, or into the list of items at the top of the show, which I should, because that list is now probably quite a bit longer.
We're just going to spend the entire show going down that list because, yeah, I think it's a several-page document at this point.
No, it's not. I mean, well,
Several
the
pages.
details are. The details are.
Yeah.
All right, next question. This one is from Garwar. When do you think you'll have time to review bonus quests and replace the tiered ones with something more appropriate to how the game is actually played?
That is a
Come on,
great
Justin.
question, Garwar. So I think the bonus quests, I think they were an experiment, right? We kind of rolled those out, I think, halfway through season 5, and we had some pretty specific goals with bonus quests and what kind of behavior we were wanting to see from those. I think they the purpose of them kind of replaced daily quests to a certain extent, and in getting people to check in every day, play a bit more. We were intending for those to kind of get people to push a little bit further than they might have normally been pushing while playing season content. And so I think we succeeded at a bunch of those things. I think the tedium from the tiered quests was something that we failed at, and is definitely something that needs some review. So I think I think after season 7, I think we'll probably be making some adjustments to that system. And I would love to talk more about that in a couple of weeks.
Okay. Next question. This is from DS Customs. Is there any chance to have Will's folk hero buff stacks to be double for his own affiliation for absolute adversaries? There is no way for any of the current absolute adversaries to achieve max stacks.
Yeah. So that's an interesting question. And I think it comes down to kind of... My initial kind of reaction to that is, no, I don't think Will needs anything special for absolute adversaries to try and make that make it so you can do that. I think that while we do like to have synergy in affiliations, synergy is a good thing. You know, it keeps it makes sense for those champions to be used together. I think having places where certain champions might be even better outside of the affiliation isn't necessarily a bad thing. It does help with champions becoming too pigeonholed to the point where you might have a champion that like only works if you're using them in their affiliation or in their synergy, and that is something that we do try to avoid to a certain extent. We always want to have those champions work well in their affiliation, but if they work better outside of it, that's not necessarily the end of the world. I think in terms of Will and folk hero, I think we're still kind of at the starting point of people figuring out sort of the best places to use him. I know that Mars came up with some really nice formations while he was doing power testing with Will, and I'm sure there are some other formations out there that people haven't found yet that will work even better. But yeah, no plans right now to do some changes to Will.
All right. Next question. This is from Wibbly Johnny, asking, as a new player, heavily reliant on third-party guides and constantly chasing another guide for how to move, progress, etc., can there not be a suggested path provided?
Yeah, so this is one of the things that we are trying to address in the collections update. Part of the collections dialogue will be basically this idea of guide quests. And this is a little bit spoilery, so strap in. But this idea of basically these quests that will kind of guide you through the content and features of the game and sort of nudge you in the right direction to unlock new champions, skins, feats, patrons, additional features like Trials of Mount Tiamat, and stuff like that. So that is something that we are very focused on for the collections dialogue.
Or even something as simple as like familiars, which there's no messaging whatsoever. You just get it when you reach level 65 the first time.
Yeah. And we're thinking of them kind of as I guess like additional tutorial steps, but a much more sort of light-handed. Like it's not taking away control from you, but it's kind of saying like these are the things you want to try next in order to unlock more parts of the game. So I'm hoping that'll be really useful for players when that goes out, because it's part of that guiding through the game that I think Seasons actually does pretty well at this point. With people, you gotta load up the Seasons dialogue. You go in, it gives you a bunch of stuff to do. You can go do that stuff, and you can feel like you're making progress. So a similar thing like that, but for the game as a whole, I think is part of that collection screen.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. There's a question here for you, Dave. We got a few more minutes. I think we've got enough highlighted here at least.
Yeah, I think we'll make it to the end of the. Yep.
So Rough Rider 1995 asks, can stream announcements lock to the hidden lower UI so it moves when you expand it?
And Mars is providing a little bit of context here.
Oh, that's a tiny little screen.
I see.
Oh, I think it means so if there's.
So yeah, I think when you have the.
Is that how we did that? So
the lowering of the UI, like when you click the little arrow to make the UI go.
Yeah.
Lower.
Go down.
Like the bottom bar. So you hide the bottom bar.
And we just do that by pushing it off screen, obviously.
It just moves the weird part.
And the stream announcements are placed relative to that, I guess.
Yes.
And then when you click to bring it back up, it doesn't reposition them.
Interesting.
That seems like a bug.
It's definitely a bug.
That is 100% a bug.
It's weird that the notification appears off screen that amount from the picture that Mars shared here.
Oh, we must do something kind of silly, like just move it down like like 200 pixels or something, not really related
Doesn't
to
it
how
animate down? I guess maybe it goes too
maybe
far.
it just animates really far off screen.
Yeah, that's odd that it would be that low, but yeah,
strange.
certainly that can be tied.
Yeah, that 100% seems like we can fix both parts of that. One where we can make it not go down as far so that the stream notification still shows up on screen, and two, when you pop it back up, we can have the stream notification pop up with it.
Right. I mean, if we're really clever about it, we'll make sure the stream notification appears above the button to raise the.
Yeah.
And yeah.
If we were real clever about it. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves here.
Okay.
Clearly, we already implemented it like this, so.
Yeah, I can see how that would have easily been an oversight for the developer who was doing it. Okay, next question. This is from Vladimir Night Road. Wow, I almost read that as Night Toad. Asks, with a new patron coming, is there a plan to split the party again?
Right now, we are not planning to do another split the party with the new patron, but those plans could change. I think right now the patron is planned for kind of early Q2, so there's still time to make any changes there if we need to.
It's deadly correct. Oh dear.
I think it's still a little bit up in the air, but there's no plans right now to do another party. It could happen.
That's right. Night Toad coming February 8th. No. All right. Probably do one more question, and then I think we're out of time.
Sure.
This one here is from Gordus. You've mentioned before that you intend to change legendary upgrades from costing favor to requiring minimum favor. Is that coming ahead of any larger legendary or trial rework?
So this is a good question. I think that possibly it could, but the far more likely case is that it would come with a trials update of some sort. There's certain switching costs to working on various things, and I imagine someone would have to kind of come up to speed with the legendary stuff and the trials stuff, and that's more easily done if we're going to be spending a bunch of time on it as opposed to making one small change. And so I think it's more likely that would come with a larger rework and probably not come before, but it is something that's on the list that we want to do.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so where is my script? What do I say after this? Here it is.
Yeah.
So that's all we got time for this week. If we didn't get to your question, do not fret. You will have another opportunity. We will be live again next week, assuming that Victoria doesn't get buried in snow. Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. This week it was Gabe and Mars. They're the folks who copy your questions into our questions document and make things awesome in chat. So thanks to both of you.
Yeah, and of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, enjoying the game, and asking such great questions. Because without you, no one here gets to do what we do.
And we like what we do.
All right. That's it for today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone.
Let's see if we can stop the stream successfully.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. One thing at a time. I still have to tell a terrible joke.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. Did you hear about the processed food facility worker who got fired?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he was canned.
That's awful.